Welcome to our Posh podcast. I am your host, Gabrielle. I'm here with my daughter, Marcella.
Hello.
My son, Gino.
Hello.
Our other family member, Bernie.
Hello.
And
Your Puerto Rican son.
That's right.
And our DJ Spider.
Waka waka.
We are
I like that. That was good.
jumping right into this next episode, guys. And this is I find it a very interesting topic because it affects a lot of people. And it is about things parents need to stop saying to their child-free friends. Because seriously, guys.
So they're what?
Child-free friends.
All right. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, I do too. I have lots of things I'm tired of hearing.
I have a lot to say about this topic,
Yes.
actually.
Because I think I'm going to just start off with, I think when you are a parent, you get so almost obsessed by being a parent that everything that evolves, especially when you're a new parent, everything evolves around your child. You basically just, which is normal and there's nothing wrong with it. I did the same thing, but
Violation.
violation. Bernie's phone just dinged. Usually it's me.
My bad.
Mine wasn't turned off either. Don't feel bad.
I had just checked mine too.
And I think people forget that normal life goes on for other people. And I think sometimes new parents especially forget that. They don't realize, oh, wait, I used to not have children. It just is. I think it's a very sore subject. It's a sensitive subject.
Really?
And I think it
You think
is.
so? I'm interested because I have one kiddo, right? So
Yeah.
I'm curious on why do you think that's a sensitive subject? Because this is really interesting to me.
Well, because I think it's mostly girlfriends because, that's life kind of goes on as normal. I mean, as much as possible, but they go to work. And yes, there's guys I know too that are overly.
Yes, I know guys too, but I don't think men are as over the top. And then men don't have an opinion on other men. Like you're not.
We so did.
No, I mean you're not gonna. Oh, okay. I was like, you're not gonna go up to another guy friend of yours and be like, dude, your sperm's drying up. When are you gonna have a kid? Time's ticking. You know what I mean?
Yes,
you don't put pressure on your dude friends.
Oh, okay. So
I just caught up to this conversation.
So I've been in the conversation. I'm just catching up to the whole thing right now. It's making more sense to me. That's this. Do y'all have women who bring that stuff up
All the time.
All day, and it's the most disrespectful, rude. Where you don't know my situation or why I don't have kids or what the reasons might be. Now I have never had a traumatic event, but I do know people who can't get pregnant or have had miscarriages, or there are people who maybe have had a stillborn. You don't know, and then
You don't
when
know situation.
you make crude how old are you? Oh, you better get going. I mean, you don't want to be the old one having a baby, and you're thanks a lot.
That's wow.
I didn't know my age and I didn't know my circumstance, and sometimes I'm well, thank God I didn't have kids with my exes, or anything like that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So there's a constant or all the time.
I had
pressure.
a third and I was 42 when I got pregnant. And people will say all kind of crazy stuff about that too. Oh my God, are you sure the baby's going to be healthy? You know what it's like after you're 40, kind of stuff like that.
It's really not funny, but it's just funny because
it's kind
I've
of
heard
odd. Mm-hmm.
it's totally effed up, but I've heard people make jokes and stuff like that. But now hearing you guys pointing out right now, it sounds really fucked up, really bad that people say stuff like that.
Well, and always constantly reminding you, especially in my work environment, I am constantly reminded, and almost
Who would have thought?
yeah, right.
Man.
And a lot of people, depending on your age, they start to, especially women, I don't think men are like this, but start to view you differently. If I go out of town and I'm judging with
Really?
with people who have kids, it's almost like a very talking down to, oh, but you don't have kids, you don't get it. And I'm like, thanks. Go ahead, talk about your children. I'll just sit here and
But the most interesting thing, I mean, Marcella is a really very unique personality in the fact that she can love literally every child as
Yes,
her
I
own.
can.
I never could do that. I mean, I was always like, yeah, cute, but I don't really love you.
That's funny.
Marcella really loves those kids as her own, and she relates to them. And of course, Gino and Marcella both had a sister when they were older, so I think they can relate more what it would be like to be a parent. I mean,
Yeah.
So, question. So you had Jolie, 42.
Mm-hmm.
What? And it's a question for this. I have two questions. My question is to you first. So, Gabrielle, what was the shittiest, crappiest thing you heard? Because I'm really curious because I didn't realize hearing y'all now that it impacted women so much. I'm not stupid enough to say. I say some stupid shit, but that's not something that I say. So, what did it make you feel when you were 42 and you found out you're pregnant? Or more like, what did they say? I'm sorry. What was the comment?
What was the comments?
Yeah. Do you remember?
Mostly the comments are always about, and honestly, I know this for men as well. When you have a baby older, the dumbest comment is always, oh my God, how old are you going to be when they graduate from high school? Oh my God, that poor kid has the oldest parent in the class. Like that kind of stuff.
So rude.
I mean, it's really...
That's dumb.
That is.
What it is.
just
I mean, I had the
unbelievable.
oldest parents in my class. And
Did you?
It didn't make a difference.
Right. Exactly.
For me personally, I have to say I feel like it has kept me young. I mean, having one at that age, I'm still up to date with everything teenagers like. Don't like.
There's no doubt about that.
Music, all of it. It's kind of cool.
She says lit all the time.
It does. It keep Jolie coming later made everything fun. Like, because Gino and I were getting, I mean, I was older, but Gino was, I mean, not a baby anymore. So holidays got fun. Like everything became so fun again to see it through her eyes. And I think as a family, it was super fun to have a little kid. And I do think that children keep you younger.
So what is the difference in ages between you two? How many years?
We're 7 years apart.
And Jolie is?
I'm 16 years apart from Jolie.
Okay. And so what was the crappiest thing you heard? I mean, like what? So like when you're at these dance competitions or like what is some stuff that parents or people say to you that impacts you?
The time is ticking because I have never been one to feel like I need to do things by a certain time, and I don't want to get married for the sake of getting married because of time.
No, you don't.
Or do you know what I mean? Like, or settling.
Yes. God, yes.
Or you should be at a certain point in life, and so I've always told her I'm super offended by that because I never asked for anyone's opinion. And I didn't ask you to tell me what I need to be doing, or that as a woman not having a baby at my age yet, that I don't have responsibility basically, or I don't know what it's like, or the constant comments. Well, you don't know. You don't have a kid. You don't know. You're not a mom. You don't understand. You're not a mom. And I think that's very rude because I'm not a mom, but I work with children. I've worked with them for a very long time. And then Jolie I was 16, 17 when she was born. I mean, she's not that I raised her, but we are so close that Jolie is kind of like my own. And I have dated people with children, and it's like, it's not like I don't know what goes into being a parent. I just think that the comments are rude because I don't insert myself in how you should be a parent.
I also think, like in Marcella's case, especially, Marcella is very young at heart. Like she is always been
very immature.
No,
yes, that too. Yes,
and they're just. I mean, she was never ready to settle down ever for the longest time.
But also, let's look at some of my exes. Like, thank
Well,
God.
of course.
I mean,
Oh my God, thank God.
thank God.
Yes, for sure. I can tell you from.
I would have joined the mob.
I'm telling you there. Having a child with the wrong person having a child with the right person is still hard.
yeah.
Having with the wrong person is crazy because, you know, my ex and I, depends on which minute you catch us when we're good and bad. But man, when you're trying to discuss like little things, like it depends. Like there's some co-parenting relationships that are really cool.
Yeah.
My ex and I, depends again which minute you catch us on, but we can get in dumb fights about like who has then it's not me at all. I know that should be what I'm saying here as the guy, but it'll be stupid stuff like who has more shorts or something like that. Like dumb
Petty.
shit, like petty stuff.
Yeah.
And the reality is I'm stuck with my ex-wife for the rest of my life, whether I want to or not. So there's nothing worse. That it's good that you don't feel rushed by people, because you're right. Imagine if you'd have had a kiddo with, I know we can bleep this out, with fucking
I know.
fuck.
That nightmare.
That literally
was her nightmare.
Was my nightmare.
Dude.
Because you know how they are in the families. I was like, we would have been in court for the rest of our lives
God,
fighting.
horrible.
I mean, literally. Gino is like, I would have joined the mob. Gino, what do you think joining the mob would have done? I want to know.
I would have had them taken care of. And
That was just I was
Like,
literally
it's
about
really
to say,
simple.
we could have gotten rid of
Answer.
all that's
and then
boyfriends really quickly.
I'd have a life of service, I guess, to the mob. That'd be worth it.
So not just a mobster, but a civil service agent.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think too. I know some. I mean, you've known people who have been married and they're trying to have children, and there's a lot of people, like, as easy as it looks to get pregnant, I don't think it's as easy as it may seem. And then to have healthy children or not have miscarriages, like, there's a lot that goes on behind closed doors that I don't think people necessarily bring up. So when you spit your opinions out on some people, you don't know the damage you're doing. Because we know someone like,
I have a friend who wanted children desperately. Like, she would have made an amazing mom, but it wasn't to be for her. And these kind of things. And then there's other, I mean, we know more. We have several friends that just never ever had children. And you just don't know how painful that is for them to hear. And that's kind of why we're doing the show today, because you got to be careful what you say to people.
No.
especially, I think maybe women are more sensitive to it, because some people define you as a woman by having a child.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that way. Like, I've always told people, like, just do, like, there's no race, like, you don't have to be rushing. But I think that you just have to be really sensitive to how you say it or what you say.
So do you want to have children?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that? I mean, I know we're in the conversating part, you're saying now you don't feel that pressure, but do you ever put that pressure on yourself sometimes?
No, the
good.
funniest thing is I only feel it when people say something to me.
No.
Like, I've never been one to be like, oh my God, like, I need to go freeze my eggs. I need to, like, holy shit. Like, I don't feel.
What?
You can freeze your eggs.
Freeze your eggs for sure.
Which is something I might do later.
Inseminate your egg and have that implanted in you and have a baby.
It's very,
that way. You don't
very
need
expensive.
a husband.
Very
Fun times.
expensive. But it's something I
Gino
might do.
mind is blown.
Yeah.
I just always learn. Like I'm learning.
Did you and your ex ever talk about that kind of stuff, kids and all that?
Having kids, yes,
Having kids,
but and both of us, to be fair, did not want kids anytime soon.
Good.
I did not. I don't want kids for a while. And all of my friends want kids except for like 2 that I grew up with, that I went to college with.
They just don't have around. They're not around enough people with kids.
Right. Kids will show you how selfish you are, and that's not necessarily in a negative way. I mean, we're all selfish. When you have a kid, especially if you do it with the wrong person, you become a single parent. Oh my God, kids! Like, I remember when I worked for this trauma company, and I worked with them for 5 years, and I worked 25/8. I worked all the time, and I was my ex-wife. She stayed at home with the kids, and she lived in yoga pants, and I forgot we got, like, she was a stay-at-home mom, and I discredited it. In fairness to it, I'm going to correct that, but I just didn't give any credit to a stay-at-home mom until one day. I forgot what she was doing. I was off. I wasn't on call that weekend, and she was going to go do shopping or something. She's like, hey, can you watch the kids? And I'm just like, yeah, that's
Easy.
fine. Whatever.
Easy.
That lasted for about an hour. I was like, holy shit.
When is she coming home?
Yeah, like in between surgery, doesn't matter if there's someone whose face is blown off or whatever, their hands blown off. I at least get a couple of minutes to do whatever,
Detach.
walk to the next operating room or something. Kids don't stop.
Nope.
Ever.
They don't
They
ever
don't stop. And when they're young, they're like little ninjas. They climb on everything.
My mom calls it like you're having to constantly protect them from killing themselves.
Yes.
24.
For the first 5
Yes.
years
Oh.
minimum, that's like a constant.
So
But-
much stress. Thank you.
And here's
I'm
the
stressed
thing.
right now just hearing about it.
And I give and especially my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom for a long time with me and Gino. And then I didn't really get to do that with Jolie. But I will have to say, I mean, stay-at-home moms do not get enough credit. They work 365, 7 days a week. They can't even get sick. And I think it's amazing what they do. And I appreciate that job because I can't even imagine not being able to leave the house. Like, you're just stuck with these little people.
It is. I genuinely mean what I would say. I think
I loved it. I'm going to throw that in there. I loved being a mom.
that's
That
a
was
six-figure job.
Yes.
It
Seriously.
is. I wish I had gotten that salary while I was doing
It is
the
a
job I
six-figure
loved.
job.
But I did love being a stay-at-home mom. That was something that I loved to do. It gave me real joy and pleasure to do that and make good humans.
Yeah.
That was like my most important thing. And now I do both. So I can kind of relate from being only a stay-at-home mom, only on apprentices, to being a mom and working basically full-time. And there's good and bad to both, I think. I mean, I feel better working, I have to say, now knowing that in the end, because you have to be a little bit self-sufficient. They're not so dependent when you stay
Because your
home.
kids are going to go.
Yeah.
They're going to leave at some point.
That was, and I can only say it about my ex-wife because that's the only experience I had with co-parenting. But she eventually what ended up happening as my son got older. I think she started getting, and this was not in an ungrateful way. I think she started getting bored with just kind of like having vacant time. And then she got in real estate and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it was interesting because that's all she got to do. And I say it's all. She got the opportunity to stay home, watch them. And it made it easy for me to go. It made it easier for me to go do my job.
I mean, that's what it is. But if you have a guy that doesn't appreciate that, then it makes it really hard. In Gino's case, I have to just really say this really quick. Patrick always says Gino is very smart because he knows and sees how expensive kids are. So he wants to be established first.
Good call.
Set up, ready to go.
And I also in another way, I have had parents come into my studio with 4 children. This is Valerie going, wait, don't do this now. Like, wait, enjoy your time. And I have had people make jokes, and I know, I get all of it. And I know that every parent, and I know my own mother, like where every parent loves their kid the most, right? Your kid is the most special. They hung the moon to you. The other thing I have to say, like make the talk about your kids, like maybe just like paraphrase it all, because we don't really care. Like, I mean, I do care, but like to only a certain extent.
But if you don't know them, this is the
if you
most
don't know
important
them,
part.
yeah.
Because when you know the child, you do care.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know. Like, I do want to know. But if you have never met the child before, and then you get these like dragging out like stories about everything, that's
on
when
the
it gets
honor
really
roll
confusing.
and math. Yeah, they're
so
so amazing.
funny.
Look at my kid. Is she gonna be the next Beyonce?
That's so funny.
I'm like, I don't know. She dances like every other kid. I have no clue.
No, she's special.
No, she's special. Tell me she's gonna be the next Beyonce.
Oh
She's
my
2.
God.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
It wasn't until I had my son that I used to. I mean, that's exactly what I felt like. I don't care about your kid. I don't care. The picture, that's not cute. Your kid's not even pretty. It's not even cute. I don't want to see it. But then it's not until you get your own. You're like, it's the prettiest person in the world.
The best.
It's the best ever. And
I think it's
biased.
great. I think it's it's proud. You're proud, but even parent to parent, because I've always said my mom has never been someone to brag on her children. There's parents who are like, well, how are your kids? How's your son? And you say, great, that's wonderful. Well, then you have the parents who are like, they give you like the whole entire like detail, scroll, like, okay, like, got it. Like,
Spare me the details.
please, I don't care that much.
I mean, if it's something big, that happened, I think that that's okay to say
Share.
and announce and share, even to people that don't know your child. But to do it ongoing, and then there's parents that parent to parent that will only talk about their child. They never will take the second to ask about yours. And after about an hour, you go, okay.
I think y'all are right from the beginning of the whole podcast. That must be more of a woman thing. Like I don't have these conversations with my buddies. Like, and I mean, I'm saying that reverently because I don't want to say it the wrong way. Like I guess, I mean, I'm sure there are guys that have that conversation, but it's got to be more of a woman thing, right?
Well, and I think men are like more kind of, they do the whole like bullet point.
Yeah,
like,
bullet point. You do, and it's so sweet. Like you always say your son is your life and he's everything, and you tell us things about it, but you have never been like,
long and drawn out. Yeah.
To the point where it's like, okay, like you're living through your kids. Got it. Like it just can be too much. And then to people who don't have them, you're like, okay. And then what was the thing that we talked about? What you need to start saying to people, like instead of how many kids do you, or what was it?
Well, we did a show because I have sadly several friends who lost their children, or one child. And we had a guest on that we asked, like, when people ask you, how many kids do you have? It's such a normal question. Yeah. You're supposed to say, tell me about your family. Yeah. So make it easier because once again, you don't know what's going on in people's life. So that's super important. And I think that's why we are talking about these things, because it's so easy to rephrase what you're really wanting to ask, which you can't ask any question, but be careful.
That's a great point because you just brought something in my mind. I remember when I was, this was in 2011-9. We had a miscarriage and I forgot all about it. Yeah, I forgot until just now talking about it. I forgot all about it. And I remember that emotion. Like it was once we had the miscarriage, it was, I remember feeling for 2 solid days numb. I've felt numb in my life before, but I remember it was this uncontrollable, numb, like empty feeling. And what just make me think about that is when you're right, you don't know what somebody is going through. You don't know how that's impacted them. Like it lasted for the numbness lasted for a couple of days. The sorrow lasted for like a couple of months for me. And so
how far along was she?
She was 4 months, 4 or 5 months.
Whoa,
but it was,
it
was. But this was like I was prepared for it in the sense that we're having a kiddo. This is me at first. That was exciting. And it was brutal. It was so brutal because I was getting excited about it. I was 20.
And that's another thing, actually, that what you were just bringing up is extremely important for people to understand. When women go through a miscarriage, women have already started dealing with the hormone changes. Yeah. Some of them are already showing. Then you have the miscarriage. Now your hormones are even going crazier. It's also hard for men to understand because they haven't gone through it physically. So you have all these things.
I can't imagine.
It's pretty
like a chemistry
you
set.
Had one.
Yeah, man.
My mom had a miscarriage.
I had a miscarriage before Marcella.
What?
And yeah. And
all the stuff you learn. All the stuff you learn.
You know what? With dad?
Yeah.
Wait, who else?
Well,
that's her boyfriend. But
I didn't know if it was like before dad.
Oh, yeah, Marcella. How do you know?
True.
So funny. So how long ago, guesstimation, not that it matters, about how long ago was that? It was before you.
Before Marcella, about, like, I think.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know.
I'm so sorry.
I think I got pregnant with Marcella like maybe 6 months later.
Okay.
Like, and someone taught me, this is kind of interesting because I have a friend who just had a miscarriage a few weeks ago, and her and I were talking, and I told her, I said, this is really a difficult time because when you know this is happening to you, and someone told me when I was going through it that it's God's way to preventing something that wouldn't have been right.
What did you think about that?
I thought that was, for me, the most helpful comment that I ever heard, because I was like, okay, I could wrap my head around that. Now, by saying that, I'm really cautious to know that there are people that have children that have disabilities, and I don't want to get into like this where it's a fine line. I'm just saying, someone said that to me, and it made me feel better during that time.
So, how far along were you?
I was 3 months.
Okay, so you're 3 months along.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the miscarriage. You find out 6 months later you're pregnant with Marcella. Mm-hmm. Were you scared out of your mind when you found out you're pregnant with Marcella?
Yeah, super scared. And that's actually a lot of times when you hear people waiting to wait till the first 3 months are over before they tell anyone else.
I've never heard that.
That is that a lot of people do because it is rather common to have a miscarriage in the first 3 months. So,
well, then there are some people, like I know of some people have had like 10 miscarriages. Like they just cannot get pregnant, and then they end up adopting, or you just don't ever know someone's stuff. I really just can't stress that enough.
One of my best friends had 4 or 5 miscarriages.
Well,
Before
that's
just
brutal.
making a comment, like, I mean, I thank God I haven't ever had to do that. But imagine if you're saying that to someone who has, and they have to go home and be like, well, thanks a lot. Like I have been trying and we just can't seem to make this work. And I think it's also stressful on marriages. I've heard that too. Like, and then they try the IVF thing, and it's just like, it can be more difficult than it seems.
Yeah, I've heard of people who it's stressing on the marriage part, where they, everyone's getting tested and whatnot, and then what ends up, I've seen it before, where one starts resenting the other because one, the husband may be healthy, but for whatever reason, the wife, whatever, or vice versa. And I've seen that cause.
How horrible.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it's beyond there's controllables and there's stuff you can't control. And it's unfortunate because I can only imagine, because these aren't normal conversations. I know for Regina, it's not a normal conversation. And it's not for me, but hearing you ladies talk about it, it's just interesting because, especially if you're saying, would you say 10? So you've heard of someone having,
I have, yes.
Yeah.
I could only imagine. I remember for me, and it wasn't even my body, like how brutal it was for me. But you're right. I think take this whole podcast and people say stupid shit all the time. But I mean, at the end of the day, everyone's trying to figure out ways to be happy and whatnot. And the stupidity that comes out of people's mouths, you may just, like, I just got reminded, not if it was a bad thing, it was just like, wow, I forgot about that. But I can only imagine how brutally painful that experience has got to be for a woman. And then have some dumbass come in and say something, and just to bring it back to that pain.
Or some people think it's not a big deal if you have a miscarriage. It was only the first 3 months. It's not a big deal. But like I said, you already go through all these changes and then back the change. It's insane.
Or the comment, like, you're not a parent, you don't get it. You're like, it's that comment because you're like, well, you don't know. Because some people also have stillborn babies. They carry a baby to full term and then have to give birth to
I
a
know
dead
several
baby.
people that happened to, and I actually visited a couple in the hospital. That's so sad.
So how? And a lot of times they'll know in advance. Or am I correct? I'm asking.
Sometimes,
that they'll
not
know
always.
in advance. But so sometimes they're thinking they're having a healthy baby and they have that's
Or they find out
crazy.
like later, like where it's. Right, they find out maybe 7 months, 6 months, like you're gonna have to carry this baby, but it's not gonna. Then you
my God.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Now, so I can see that being one of the most
That is
impressive.
very, very, very difficult.
just
I know
shooting
several
ahead kind of
people.
deal.
Several people.
Really?
Yeah, it's really, 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 really
How
sad.
do you comfort someone like that?
Let's lots of prayers. Really, honestly, that's very, very hard.
Oh.
Let's go back to what people say. So the
yeah.
first one we have addressed: when are you going to have a baby? We have
Never.
addressed that one. Never.
I'll never carry a kid.
Marcella, when you have a baby. I'm just kidding.
This is a favorite. They start talking about horrifying labor and delivery stories.
I've heard that.
This is my favorite.
God.
I was pregnant with Marcella. I will never forget it. And we were at a party, and this lady. Now I'm already pregnant, right? And this lady comes
Did
up
you know
to
you
me.
were pregnant?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
And she goes, "Oh my God, just get ready. You will never enjoy anything by yourself ever again." As she is giving her little child like a sip of her drink.
Oh, wow.
I remember it was in New York City. I never will forget this lady. It was so funny. I was like, really? I was kind of like, okay.
Kind of excited about it, but
Yeah, I guess I won't be excited
You're right. It's a little
anymore. Or
short.
people
Yeah.
going, well, it got in there. Now you got to get it out. So stop complaining
I
about
can't
it.
believe some of the
People
stuff
say
people
that.
say to you guys. That's crazy.
People are ignorant.
So rude.
Clearly.
Uh-huh.
You need to have like good comebacks for these things.
I know.
Well, I mean, how do you? That'd be great to have those good comebacks.
I have
When are you going to
plenty.
know someone's going to say something so stupid?
Right. It kind of throws you off guard.
Yeah.
You're like,
Not
I'm not prepared for
God.
what to say back to that.
That's crazy.
Marcella has brought this one up. Until you have a child, you just can't understand.
Yeah. Bullshit.
you think you are tired.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite.
That's so.
I don't need anyone comparing to me. Like,
Right.
I know what I go through. I don't really care what you go through. So let's not talk about it.
We're all different. Like you don't know what people go through. Like I know, and don't get me wrong, I do know that new babies, especially, I mean, a friend of ours just had 3, and I don't know how.
Oh yeah, triplets.
I don't know how you're doing
the cutest
it.
triplets
Cutest
ever.
triplets ever, but I'm like, do you sleep? Are you okay? Are you a okay person? And they're still smiling and great, but I'm saying like nobody knows. Like none of us know, so you can't say that you're more tired than I am. We don't know. Do you have a kid? I don't know.
It says here, respect everyone's hustle, because that's the other part though. Like for me, I was super busy when I had my children, but that, in my case, that's all I had to do. I can't compare it to someone that was traveling for work or doing whatever. I mean, they were busy too.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't, it's not always somebody's stuff is worse than the other, you know? That's the most. Have you considered
It's
adoption?
an insecurity thing. They're insecure.
Maybe. Is that what it is?
They
Maybe.
compare it and they're like, oh, you don't know. I'm more tired.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. Have you considered adoption, IVF, or surrogacy, etc.?
Wow.
None of your damn business is the answer.
That's crazy.
I adopted a plant.
Your eggs are drying up.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were dry. I didn't know you knew about my eggs, but
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
This article actually says you should answer none of your damn business, none of your damn business, none of your damn business. This is none of your damn business, so stop asking.
Okay, well, there's my
Wow,
comeback.
that's an aggressive comeback.
Your pet is not a baby.
Tommy would
Oh no,
flip
my
out.
pet is a baby.
And there is a photo of dogs in strollers.
People have birthday parties for that.
Oh, yes.
I know.
Tommy, my best gay friend husband, he has big birthday parties for his dog.
Really?
And to him, that's his child.
Yeah. Why
Yes, that dog
That's
has its
crazy.
own closet with its own clothes
If
and
that's
everything.
how you want to celebrate, why not? Like, I don't
See,
see-
Spider is all about do you. Like,
Do
Yeah.
you?
do whatever
Clearly,
makes you
yeah.
happy.
right. Just don't put it in my face because I'm going to talk shit about it.
We'll do it on a podcast. That's crazy.
Now, if you say, I'm not ready to have a child, I don't want a child, then they go, oh, you'll change your mind
Yeah,
about not
I
wanting
hate
kids
that.
someday.
I really do hate that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. My slogan is fuck these kids. Now, it's not really, but that's what I tell them.
By these kids, I mean your kid. I mean
Fuck your kid, your kid, your kid, your kid.
and you.
and you. And you too.
That's crazy. This is just really interesting because
You didn't know this went on.
no,
Yeah.
like I had
no idea.
Did you know this one on?
Yes, but
I
I've
had no
I've
idea.
been working this show for a year and a half or so. We've had multiple conversations about this.
This is such a new topic because I just guys don't. Maybe Tommy gets in these conversations, but I don't.
Oh, he doesn't.
No,
I can't imagine. Like it's just
he just is proud to be a dog
A dog
dad,
daddy.
Dog
and
daddy.
he loves it with his whole heart. And so,
that's just.
yeah, he's not interested. He doesn't want children. And then if you say that, here comes the next comeback. You're the most selfish bitch in the whole wide world.
Yes, I am.
Wow. These are some this is a really interesting topic and it's a really aggressive hey go fuck yourself, all right?
But I for real,
That's what I feel like someone's
don't
saying.
want kids because I like my own time.
Dude, that's the
You
one
know,
thing.
if that's selfish, then fuck yeah, I'm selfish.
Well, and to each their own. If
For
you,
sure.
Who's that one actress, Helen Mirren? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
people crucify her constantly for never having children, but she never wanted them.
Which
I didn't
one?
know she didn't have children.
She does. Helen Mirren. She is older,
Older actress, but beautiful.
beautiful older actress.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like known for not having kids and being.
Gilf.
She's a gilf.
What's a gilf?
Grandma, I'd like to fuck.
Oh my god.
Not a grandma though. That's the best part.
Exactly.
God.
What's her last name?
Helen Mirren.
Gilf.
I'd spell it for you, but then I'd
Oh,
look
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah.
creep.
So she doesn't have any, and she's always been outspoken about not wanting them, and it's just her life and her choices, and people constantly are mad at her for not wanting. I mean, now at this point she's too old, but I think to
she could
each
still adopt it.
yeah, sure. I mean, to each their own. Who's that one? Sean Penn? No, not Sean Penn. He's the one actor. I just saw it on Daily Mail. He's in a custody battle with his 7-year-old. and he's like, he
Wait,
has to be
what?
76. Who? Robert De Niro.
Oh,
Really?
yeah,
He has a
that's right.
7-year-old. And he must have had a baby at like 60.
I think the reason I said what, because you said he's in a custody battle with his 7-year-old.
With his 7-year-old
Oh,
child.
sorry.
Like everybody off there.
With his 7-year-old child, and he has to be like 60 something.
But to me, like if
Nah,
you don't
you're older
want,
than that.
if you don't think you're ready for kids or don't want kids, then you're making the smart decision. Why the hell would you have a kid if you weren't ready to have a kid?
Yeah.
Then they're going to turn out terrible, and you'll be the one saying, "Oh, you're not going to have any free time of your own now because you don't know what the hell you're doing."
Exactly.
Now, this one is funny. You can't know love until you have a child. And I like what this person is saying. Did you honestly not know love until you had a child? Really? Because that's really tragic to me. I loved a ton of people before I had my kids. I mean, my parents, my brothers and sisters, my husband. The list goes on and literally on. Granted, I love my children more than anything else in the world and unlike anyone or anything I'd ever loved before, but I knew what love was before that. So the people, a sort of bizarre pissing contest of love and admiration. It's a contest.
Your experiences, I think we all experience different fulfillments. I don't even know the right way to say fulfillments of love, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just it's a new type of love.
It's
When
a
you-
different
right? You
type
just-
of
it's
love.
a totally
There's
different type of
no
love.
question about it, but that doesn't mean that the people, I mean,
Okay, but what's the difference between like, and here it gets like, you kind of get into the argument with people who have adopted children. I mean, I know that you had a baby, like it came out of the girl and it's part of the guy too. And I get that. But are you telling me that parents who've adopted children can't possibly love that kid as much as you birthing one?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because I can tell you that the love I have for kids, like I was like, I could adopt children. The love I have for them is beyond, like my mom says I'm weird, but I really
she
do.
is
You are.
different. No,
We agree.
it's very
concur.
it's very
Yeah.
very unusual. Very.
And I could love them unconditionally. And I don't think it's right to say that you don't know how I feel.
Yeah.
What if I don't ever? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know for me.
So a couple things. I agree with what Gino said a little while ago. I think some people say stuff out of insecurity. And again, a lot of stuff comes out of like perspective, right? Everybody has their own perspective. So they love, like, for example.
All right, I got the baby talk going.
Last week.
So for example, I can totally relate with Tommy on like the dogs. I love my French bulldogs.
you do.
They're the shit. They're so
Right.
awesome. But there's some people who'd be like, dude, really? Like
It's just a dog.
their French bulldogs would sleep outside. I mean,
Right.
I can't relate to that. I love differently. And so people just love differently. But the other part also is that their life experiences make them see things a different way. For instance, someone's saying something like, hey, your eggs are drying up, or like, that's stupid. I think that's a pretty common sense thing,
Yeah.
you would think,
You would think.
but it's clearly not, because
Yeah.
people say stupid shit all the time. So
But that's why, isn't that funny? Like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if men going around being like, your balls are dry.
men are yeah.
I've never heard those words.
Be
in my
shooting
life.
dust here in a
Yeah.
minute.
I've only heard it a couple times, all right? But so guys don't,
Dust.
I've never heard that. But guys don't have those
I
conversations.
feel like you have said that once before.
I've never heard that.
I may have, because that
Shooting
is,
dust.
if
He
you
hasn't said it before.
if you get off too many times in one day, by the end,
But
firing off some
That is
dust.
true.
But isn't it weird that it's okay? Oh my god, that it's okay for
the
men.
guys are all laughing like they all know about
We all
it.
know that.
I wouldn't know.
Yes.
But isn't it weird how guys, it's okay to have babies, like they can have babies till they're like 70 and everyone's like, yeah. And then a girl, you're like 40, you're like, oh my God, you're so unhealthy.
There
Well, in
is-
that whole point, Eva Longoria just had a baby. What's she, 44 something, whatever?
First
There's
baby.
all kinds of people having babies after in their 40s and being just fine.
Yeah. Well, there is a risk when you're older, but like I had some friends that had multiple miscarriages and then went to a fertility doctor and ended up having twins. But like, they monitored her the whole time, so like she was
Right.
under close watch the whole time. Everything was cool, but there was a high risk pregnancy because how old she was.
Right. I also have one other thing to say that's very important to me. I think when we become parents, and it's the people that are becoming parents that have a baby, we get so caught up in it. Now, you have the two different types. Either you're a stay-at-home mom or a working parent, and either one is overwhelming. And because it's all new and you have to adjust and everything. And I think it has to be extremely difficult for our friends that don't have children because their life is just going on. So I believe that we get busy, sometimes too busy to even worry about the friends that don't have children. We all of a sudden don't have time to call them. We are not checking in. How are they doing? How is their life going? We expect them to check in with us all the time because, I mean, God forbid, we're the ones that had the baby. Our life changed. And it's like sometimes I see friendships being put on hold because of it. And this person actually wrote a letter to her friends that don't have children. And she said, "Shame on me. You deserve better. And I haven't been there for you. I'm really sorry." Because I feel like that's a real thing. Like you forget about the friends that, you used to be there for them. Sure. You used to always call them and go out with them and do these things. And now suddenly you are overwhelmed and you expect that person to always do everything for you, while maybe you need to look at yourself and go, well, how is that person doing? She had to go through a change as well.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah, fair enough. But do you, I know once I had my son, I was married and all that stuff, and I had friends, whatnot, I felt like my priorities changed.
Of course they do. Mm-hmm.
And so it was almost easier to relate just because of where I was at in life with someone who had kids. I mean, I had my friends who'd have kids, but it was just, it made it for where I was at. It's easier to hang out with kids, someone who had children, because, I remember before I had kids, I was so sensitive to hearing a, I just stop.
That noise hurts.
Yeah, right. But now,
I hate that noise.
That's the thing. But now having a kiddo, I can drown it out. I can drown out. So it's easier to have two parents who can drown it out where their kids are acting fools at the house or whatnot. But I don't know. I guess it was interesting.
I hear a baby crying in the grocery store, and I go to the other side.
I can't hear nothing.
I can't imagine hearing that when I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, if it's yours, it's a whole something changes in you, and you're not going to feel that way. You don't feel like you have to leave your apartment.
I'm not ready.
Stay with that thought process until you're ready.
Right. And sometimes friendships will change, and that's okay too. I mean, things just happen, and everybody has to be okay with it. I just think everyone needs to be more sensitive what they say, and I think that's the lesson for the day. Any other things to say, Marcella? No, anybody?
So I'll say this, and then we'll go. But I think it's interesting because this has never been a subject, a topic in my entire life until today's podcast. Because guys typically don't have this, but I had no idea how impactful it was on women to hear stuff like this.
It's very, 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 very hard.
It is hard. I mean, I have been standing in a group of friends, me and a girlfriend of mine. We don't have kids. And then everybody else did. And literally, we were both like, cool. Could not be more left out with everything is great. We're all talking normal. And then it was, well, let's all of us moms have a mom's sleepover, get together. We'll talk about this. And we were like, hey, cool. I guess we're excluded because we just don't have.
Did you not get invited to the mom sleepover?
No, this was
no.
That's you
really
didn't want to go anyway.
I didn't, but it was.
Your feelings hurt? Your feelings get a little hurt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, I got hurt standing there because I was like, awesome. And now these are the girls that I have been there for through everything.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been in the room when they're in labor. I mean, I've been there no matter what. But then because that just hasn't happened for me, it's the comments. Well, us moms, we just know. Oh, sorry, Marcella. You're like, all good.
I think it's really strong that you're willing to wait and not, because I have friends right after high school, married, having kids. After college, married, kids with people that I don't really even know. I'm like, was high school that hard? You're ready to just to get on with your life?
A lot of people,
class?
it's sometimes some of them turn 18, 19, 20, and that's it. They want to get married, have families. That's it.
I have a buddy who's 24 and he's like, I'm ready to be an old man. And I'm like,
Wow.
No,
what?
I can tell you this:
Wow.
he's ready not to either wear a condom or pull out. That's all. Because no one at 18 or 19 is like, I just want to have a bunch of kids.
I don't think that anyone understands how difficult marriage and having children are, like, or how serious it is. I think some people see it as like, oh, this is no big deal.
That's why the divorce rate is so high. They
Yeah.
don't take it seriously.
Yeah,
So that's what I think.
I mean, because that's the thing. I think you're 100% right. Because just because you have a child doesn't mean you're right to be a parent at that particular point. Because I mean, think of how many kids, we've had these conversations before, but think how many kids go through depression at an early age because their parents aren't there for them.
So my mom had me when she was 18, just barely 18. She was pregnant when she was 17 years old. And I'm going to just throw that in there. I have very tough upbringing because my parents were too young. They really, really were. My dad was only 19. So those two together, they were not ready to be parents. I was blessed with having the most amazing 2 sets of grandparents. And we always say that is why I'm the person I am today, because my parents, they were a disaster. I mean, not ready to parent was really hard. Like my upbringing was not easy. So,
But just like that, I mean, you obviously have worked through something. You probably had stuff you had to work. Am I wrong to say ask that? Or,
a lot.
right? And so it's better to do just, Gino, like what you were saying. I think it is admirable is the right word to say, but that you can recognize.
Bernie's trying to beat me up.
We're hitting
I
the
hit her.
microphone.
I hit her. I think
We
you
have
will not
video,
have a kid. You wanna
video
yell at that?
proof.
Yeah, let's do it.
3 cameras.
But I think it's really strong that you can be mature enough to wait.
It's
because
smart.
Right.
it's smart.
It is smart.
It gives you an opportunity to be really selfish right now. You know, you can travel, you do whatever you want. Because it's true, once you have kids, you do not turn them off. They don't stop, and which is
And
fine.
they're an amazing blessing.
They're
I
huge blessings.
think that that's too, and it adds to your life. So then you have all that because sometimes we get children is such a hard job, which they are, but they have so many blessings with it as well.
For sure,
So,
for sure.
I think just be more sensitive to what you say and the
There you go.
opinions you put on other people. That's all.
there you go.
Yeah.
I think it's time to call Miss Polly.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Here we go. Is she back?
She's
Yes.
back.
When will we be able to start seeing her?
I know. I was thinking. the same
Whenever
thing.
we get this computer working.
I think this
Would
is
she come
Gino's
up right
most
there?
nervous part. Gino is really, I can see him stressing out next to me.
He's already turning red.
Get used to it.
Miss Polly.
Back in the game.
That's me. That's me.
We
No
missed
jingle?
you. Yeah, the
there's a
jingle's
jingle.
coming.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I was just really amped.
Bet you were. All right, let's do it.
You're amped. Woohoo! What are we amped about?
The
don't know yet.
jingle,
Children.
Your
the Miss
jingle?
Polly jingle. We're super amped about it. Gino especially.
Yep. Amped for you, Miss Paul.
Uh-huh.
Me too.
That's
This
so
is
sweet.
Penis and
That's
Pussy Talk.
with Miss Polly.
There it is.
My
Yes, it
love,
is.
my question for you today is, would you rather have sex without love or love without sex?
Rather have sex without love.
Would you rather have sex without love or love
Sorry, I
without
gotta
sex?
think about that one for a
Rough
second. I was
one.
like, what? That's not a tough
I know.
one.
I had to-
no,
No.
it's not. Sorry, go Miss
No.
Polly.
Go, Miss Polly.
I'll bitch in a second about it.
No, of course you will. I expect nothing less.
That's right.
It's kind of hard. It's difficult just depending on what your situation in life is at any given moment. I mean, are you single? Are you looking for love? Or are you, married and stuck in a, I don't know, loveless relationship? I'm not really sure. I mean, definitely it's the feeling, it's more emotional and it makes sex better if you're in love. But sometimes sex without love is just,
Yeah.
Drunk.
Borrow some friction from a friend.
well,
That's good.
How
it can be, it here's the thing. Sex without love can sometimes be just a release. Okay. You know, sex is sex. We all like to have sex and get our whatever, you know, because everybody needs a little So
I completely agree
stress
with
relief. It's stress relief. And sometimes
healthy.
you just want it to, it is healthy.
That's right.
You need it. So,
She knows dying.
but
So
sometimes you don't want your emotions involved. You just want sex.
So
How about you, Miss Polly? Where is you, like you personally?
Why did I know you were going to turn this on me personally?
Because it's your segment.
It is my segment. Personally, I just like sex to be. Listen, was that Marcella?
Marcella knows you so well.
Just like some good old sex, you know. I don't want feelings involved all the time. Just give me some
It's easier that way.
headboard banging.
Dear God.
all kinds
Yeah, boy.
Gina, what do you think?
I'm coming in now after the headboard banging.
So again,
That's right, baby.
Say the question again. So
Would you rather have sex without love or love without sex?
go ahead, I'll go
So
after you.
easy.
All right.
Oh,
I'm here alone, just Bernie, Spider.
Wait a minute.
No.
Oh, that's so funny.
My view of it, God, is if you love someone, that is an act that goes with it. As y'all know, with my experience, I am not a Bumble person at the moment.
At the moment.
I wish we could just. Can we see his face?
Yes,
This
we
is
can.
gonna be
How
so
red it
awesome.
is.
I'm sunburned.
It's red and it's looking
No.
down. It's uncomfortable for him.
I'm here alone.
So funny.
Leave me alone.
You need a little bit of that
it's
alcohol.
okay, Gino.
Yeah, Gina,
take a
take
breath.
a shot of Fireball.
I'd like to
There you
see
go.
you guys sit in between your older sister and
funny,
mother.
dude.
Well,
I'm
relax at the older comment.
Damn.
Of all the stuff,
We already broke all that down earlier.
Older sister.
that's so funny.
My wiser sister. That doesn't work either, though. But
Your sister. Can I just be your sister?
Oh my god, this is
Have to be older.
Yeah.
okay,
Older.
my sister and mother.
So the answer is
Yes.
I forgot the question.
No, that's a lie.
sex without
No,
love.
you
or
I
did
think
not.
I think they go together in my
can't.
opinion.
No.
Can't.
Why?
Yeah.
It's the black and white of the
Would
question.
you rather?
Yeah.
Would you
Would you
rather
rather?
one or the other? Would you want to go last to answer this?
No, because my answer short term you'd say sex, but long term love, because then it just gets old, and you're just miserable.
So
Are you really?
We know I'm a one person man to this point, so I don't know.
that's all right. That's so funny. So my thought on it is this.
Okay.
So I think of it this way. So I think love will only take you so far. Sorry, that's my 2 cents.
Love is not enough.
Love is not enough. It's really not. So what I think is that if the option between sex without love or love without sex, I'm always going to go for sex without love. However, it situationally depends. So if there was a situation where and this is a dramatic response to it, but I mean, if I'm in a situation where, God forbid, I'm in some sort of terminal disease or something like that, or someone that I loved had a terminal disease of some sort, I know I could love that person and not have sex with them. However, if it was the option of like one or the other, love can't be sustained without intimacy. Well, whether it's intimacy or just fucking or sex, it just can't. I don't think it can be unless specific in situations like that.
I feel very strongly about this. I could never have sex without love, ever. it doesn't work. I wouldn't do it. Never have my whole life. I just couldn't.
But
Chino is dying. I don't know why. It's a normal conversation. We're just sex is
just
normal.
looking at
but
the tape.
sex, but you've said before, you and Patrick have a very healthy sexual relationship, right?
Dear God, how did we come
Chino's
back?
going to die right now.
But here's the thing: what helps you and Patrick? Correct me if I'm saying this wrong, because I have my own interpretation of it. What helps you guys love that much more is you get to connect intimately, right?
What's happening right now? Where's he going? What is he
Gotta
doing?
get the alcohol.
Fireball shot. This is awesome. I love this. This is so funny.
Hey, Chino, you should have some of my soaked pineapples.
I want a
They're
piece
really
of
good.
might
Oh yeah, I
eat
forgot
some
those had
pineapple, too.
alcohol.
He's gonna eat the whole
our-
thing.
Time for a snack.
At our photo
my
shoot,
God, no.
at our photo shoot on Friday, I was eating so much pineapple and I forgot. And I was like, why am I so like tipsy? And I think 'cause I forgot.
Why do I want to take my top off this whole time?
It's so weird. So wait,
I don't even know what's going on right now.
You're
Miss Polly,
alcohol.
Tina,
This
take
is
a
so
shot.
Oh my
Okay,
God. Miss Polly,
now I know.
I'm sorry, but
Yes.
Chino can't handle the conversation.
Now he's getting
So
drunk.
That's because, well, it's
Oh my
because
God.
he's just,
Yeah, boy.
I don't know.
Woo, that's a big shot.
he's taking 2 shots of Fireball back to back because he is not handling the situation very well. The conversation.
Chino,
So
did you not know this is what goes on? Were you shocked by all
Oh, he
this?
just keeps taking the headphones
Okay,
off.
put your headphones back on. Miss Polly is talking to you.
Fine, I had technical difficulties.
Okay, talk to Miss Polly. She wants an answer from you.
What do you mean? What answer?
She asked you a question.
What
I pick
I'm
love.
asking you. Okay, that's not the question. The question
C.
is,
I choose answer C. I don't know.
All of the above.
did you not know that this is what your sister and your mother do?
That direct.
Hello.
So
He was not
Yes.
a listener to the podcast before you
Have
joined.
you?
I
have
obviously
you literally
know.
Had
I
okay, but
know.
you had your head in the sand like
bury
a little
it.
ostrich.
I bury it deep down.
I mean, some kids walk in on their parents. I mean,
Yeah,
at least you didn't have
that's
that.
It happens.
But I got it. Give me the
Hey,
so awesome.
next person. Let's go. Let's keep this rolling.
So, but you didn't
So-
answer.
Marcella.
Hold on, hang on.
Yeah.
Damn you, Bernie.
Gabrielle didn't answer. For the
Yeah, she
listeners
did.
who want to hear
She
the
did.
thought process.
but
So
I'm saying I would never have sex without love. Like, say, if I wasn't married and in love with my husband, I wouldn't have sex with someone. I wouldn't. It just is my thing. I have always
Really?
been this way. Really swear on my children.
I believe you. No, you
always.
did that. I believe you
I have
said.
always been that way. Have never had a one night stand. I don't do these kind of things. I never have. I don't know.
That doesn't surprise me at all
Not at all.
about
Not at
you.
all. That's why I like if you said I believe it.
No,
It is the
doesn't.
truth.
It doesn't.
If it was different, I promise I would tell you. It's
I
just
have
not been
to
that
at
way.
least have feelings. Now, I have never had a one night stand either. I have never randomly hooked up with anybody, but I mean, I don't think I've always been like madly in love with that person. I don't know.
No,
So
I have to be in serious. I might like them.
I have
But
to at least
then
be
again, I have,
attracted.
you
Like,
know.
I don't
Yeah,
want
well,
to have
there's
to.
that.
that's not. Hold on. That's not the question.
What is the question?
The question is: would you rather have sex without love
or
or
love,
love without sex? So
Such a hard question.
it's really not. It's really not. It's really not. I can't believe it's not so hard for. I can't believe it's hard for you. I can't.
But I mean, like, I would want to. I
But
wouldn't
if-
want
but
to
you-
choose.
But if you only have two options.
You did it both too.
I know, but if you had, yeah, but I
You
went.
didn't even pick. What's your one then?
Sex or love?
Sex, without doubt, sex.
Sex.
I mean, yeah, I would
Sex.
want. I would not.
Headboard banging.
Yes,
man.
I like sex a lot, and I couldn't imagine being in a relationship where there's like
Just none.
none.
I have to say love.
None.
I
Been there.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, she says, "Been there, fucking horrible." Let's not do that.
Spider.
I'd go love.
Love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all are full of shit. I call bullshit on everybody.
I'm serious.
Miss Polly, you
All
were.
right, here's the thing.
I'd have to be blackout
I guess
drunk.
it's just
on
you
this.
and me,
sex,
Bernie.
sex
Yeah.
without love or love without sex. Like,
Exactly,
I'll take
Marcella.
the sex, however, and just keep the love. You know what I mean?
There you go. There There you go. Okay, so with that being said, Miss Polly, you said you were in a marriage for how long with no sex?
Well, I was married for 24 years, and it was the last probably 7 with none.
Yeah, but were you in love that 7?
Or any part of the 7?
Well, I loved him. I still love him.
Yeah, you
in
still
love,
love him.
I think that's different. I mean, I care about him. I still care about him, but at the same time, there's that part that demands a deeper connection. And when the sex is gone or the intimacy is gone, it's really hard to sustain the love.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to go to the question of the day.
It's like a battle.
I'm the whore of the cast.
It's okay for you. God forbid it were me. Everyone would be like, we knew it.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. That's funny. You're the whore of the cast?
I'm the
Is that
whore of
what
the
you said?
cast. Like, I'll take the sex.
I thought maybe it was me.
Nope, we'll be the whores of the cast. Yeah, Miss Polly.
There you go.
I cannot wait for this photo shoot. This will be a blast. The question of the day today is, do you enjoy engaging with strangers? Like, do you like to talk to strangers? Like when you're out and about?
I do.
Are you shy?
Every day, every single day.
Do you?
Every Uber driver I have, I get into a weird conversation with.
Man.
It is very situational for me. And very much depends on my mood.
I'm the same
Yeah.
way. When I was younger, I was really outgoing and I loved talking to people. And as I've gotten older, I feel like I just don't want to. I don't want to talk to
Not the mood.
anyone.
If
That's-
I
I mean, I don't even care my mood. I don't
If
want
I
to talk to
really
anybody.
don't want to talk, then I'll go one-word answers. And if they don't get the hint, then I'll just make up stories, see what happens.
I love
fun.
talking to everybody. I love it.
No surprise.
No surprise.
They went to lunch. Y'all remember the biker bar that y'all went
Oh
to?
my God, that was so fun though. When we went to Strikers.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
y'all
I've
came
been
back
there.
with stories about every person in there.
Yeah, but we
I was
had
like,
a
damn, how many
blast.
people y'all talked to?
Yeah, everybody.
So we're just talking about random, though, right?
Yeah, right. If I go to the bathroom, I mean, when Patrick gets here, ask him. I have a new friend for sure. Sometimes 2 or 3 or 4.
So
It's just a normal thing.
Yeah. I guess you're right. It'll be situational.
Gino?
But usually.
I like talking to people, strangers. I go to the grocery store, get some deli meat, and I just chit chat with the ladies behind the
can see
counter
that.
and get to know their daily job. I'm curious, like they're slicing that meat and stuff. I'm like,
Man, I got to know about
my
you meat
Lanta.
slicers.
yeah, like I just start asking questions, get to know what they do, and then
You know,
How-
they give you an extra half
Cheese.
pound of cheese
How-
or
I
something.
do, I
Yeah.
do get a
get
lot of free
extra, I
stuff.
bet.
Yeah.
Are you?
But I don't do it for that. I generally like,
You sure?
yeah.
Like, hey, your eyes are
Sure.
beautiful. I love some cheese.
Marcella loves the pineapple.
so good.
Are you
Miss
on your
Polly,
second or third
how
shot?
about
Save
you?
me some.
Yes.
Second.
Well,
I'm a
considering that I talk to random strangers every day.
That's your job. then,
About sex. How
About
crazy.
sex.
Yes. Well,
So
the
good,
thing
huh?
is after talking to people all day long, and I discovered this when I worked at Starbucks as well. After talking to people all day long, the last thing I want to do when I'm not working
Let's talk
is
to
talk
anyone.
to anybody.
I
Right.
can see that.
I can see that too.
It's
Yeah.
exhaustive.
I don't listen to
Especially,
podcasts.
believe it or not, especially when you're an introvert, because I'm an introvert. I just happen to be a social introvert, or around people that I know, I'm very social.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just randomly, I would rather sit in a corner, read a book, and leave you be.
All right. On that
Yeah.
note, everyone, thank you for listening.
Love you, Miss Polly.
We will call you soon. Love you.
I love you
Bye.
too.